Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us for this very first for us, an online meeting. We're going to see what we can make work for everybody. And today we're going to be covering our Mendocino County Fire Safe Council grant program. Going to talk about a little bit of some other things that we're doing, but we've got folks here from both the Fire Safe Council and the contractors doing the work. So basically, this is something where we're going to all join together to help each other out to clean up the roads and clean up some of our lots for defensible space around homes, and also quite a few vacant lots as well. We've got quite a few agreements with vacant lot owners to do some work on their property, which is something that Chief Neuer has told us he struggled with over time. So okay, so Sherwood Firewise Communities, this is Keith Rutledge. I'm on the steering group, and this is today we're going to be talking about both fire reduction around homes as well as along access roads. Scott Cratty is going to be speaking from the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council, and also Aaron Martin is the project manager for this. He's online as well, and Aaron's doing a lot of the nitty-gritty data recording. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, about how important it is for us as volunteers to document our contributions to the project, because we need to contribute matching in-kind labor and expenses. So anything we do, including our time on the call today, is all counted as matching contribution. And then we have Rachel Campbell from HIS Design and Ashley Vega from Diamond Tree Service. They're the contractors that were awarded the contract to do the roadside fuels reduction and the chipper days program. So what we're going to cover today is, I'm going to give a little background on Sherwood Firewise for those that haven't come to our meetings regularly, to let you know where we're at. So we're going to talk about the roadside fuel reduction chipper days, and Diamond Tree Service has their work scope. So in this year, we've got quite a bit of work ahead of us. The fire preparedness grant that we got through the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council that we're talking about today, roadside fuels reduction and chipper days. So this is our real first step into evacuation, the evacuation routes, training around that. This is really our on-the-ground kind of stuff that we're starting this year. We also were awarded a grant from the North Coast Opportunities EPIC program that's going to allow us to pay somebody. We've had great volunteer efforts since we got started, but we really need a paid coordinator to help all the volunteers stay coordinated. And hopefully we'll be holding our June Firewise Expo this year as well. But there's a lot of things we're doing, so we need a person to help coordinate that. So we're looking for somebody. If anybody knows of a good administrative event coordinator kind of person, we have funding to pay somebody for that. We were also funded from the Community Foundation to develop a county service area. That's what the CSA, this CSA stands for. And this is for funding the maintenance on the emergency access routes that we've been able to reopen, the Furco route and the Willets Creek route in particular, but also Supervisor Haschak is working on other routes like the one from Primrose down to Highway 20. We need funding to maintain those routes now that we've got them reopened, and so that's what this Community Foundation grant will start us on, that process of forming a county service area benefit zone to cover the funding for the maintenance of that. We don't expect it to be much. It's mostly brush clearing and things like that. And then the big grant that we got was from CAL FIRE, and this is for clearing road access all along Sherwood Road from Main Street all the way north to where it intersects with 101 south of Laytonville. It also includes roadside fuel reduction along Ridge, Blue Lake, and Timber roads. So it gives us another access route for those if we have to go north to get out of the subdivision. If the fire's coming up the hill, this is another route to get through the subdivision and out to Sherwood Road heading north. So the goal today, and you'll see a lot more detail when the presenters present their information, really what we're trying to do is create defensible space around homes and also around our access routes. We know from the other fires that people have had, whether it was Redwood Valley and Tom Kai Road or the other terrible fires that have happened all around us, roads and defensible space are major areas for us to focus on. So the roadside fuel reduction, we're only going to work within the public utility easement, so it's about 10 feet either side of the road surface. We're clearing brush and small diameter trees and limbs. There'll be some questions about what owners can do to, if you have ornamentals or other types of things. We're not going to just completely cut everything, but we do want to try to make fuel reduction along the roads so that they're safer to drive. The Chipper Days program is volunteers and homeowners and paid people, if they want to have their own workers, removing brush and small diameter trees and limbs to create that 100-foot defensible space. And this includes working on vacant lots, which we have quite a bit of that in Brooktrails. So we're working to develop agreements with those vacant lot owners that will allow us access onto their property so we can maintain both the road easement and also the defensible space around homes, because most of that 100 feet is on an adjacent lot in quite a few cases. And then our biggest goal is to educate and train so that we all learn to be better prepared for the coming fire season. All right, so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Scott Cratty. He's the Executive Director of the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council. And Scott, why don't you come and join us and take over?
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining, and I'm just going to give a brief overview of the project and go into sort of more detail about the things that Keith was talking about. First off, you're going to get a little bit of commercial for the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council, and there's a fair bit of overlap. I'm going to say off the bat that you're super lucky to have the Sherwood Firewise crew working with you. They're the most dynamic and engaged local area fire safety group in the county, and they're doing a lot, as Keith reviewed, and we do a lot of the same things on a countywide level. And Keith, if you can start moving through the slide. Our mission is to inform, empower, and mobilize county residents to survive and thrive in a wildfire-prone environment. So that's what the county organization's mission is. And next slide. And we do that because fire is, and we live in a fire-prone environment. So what we can do is to prepare and organize as a community to be ready to, again, survive and thrive in that environment. Next, first thing to do is to make sure you are signed up for emergency alerts, because you can't be prepared for a fire if you don't know it's coming. And next slide. There are a ton of ways to prepare yourself, and we have information about all of those that you can get through the County Fire Safe Council, including how to get your to-go kit ready, to get a reflective sign, which we offer through our website, so that so that helpers can find you. And we'll be doing a lot more of this later in the year, getting your home ready. We're going to have an intensive bunch of work on home ignition zone preparation later in the year. Next slide. So the process starts with meeting your community and making a contact list to make sure everybody around you gets the information and people that need help get help. Making evacuation plans and maps, and helping each other create defensible space around your home, which is what the Chipper Days are going to be about, that we'll go into detail about later. Next. So our work includes things like this large-scale road clearing project. We have a couple going on around the county at the moment that we're managing. We have education and outreach information. We support neighborhood councils, as we're doing in this case, and help develop new ones throughout the county, coordinate all the neighborhood councils in the county, and have information sharing meetings among them. In addition to the Chipper Day programs that we're going to be talking about specific to the work we're doing in your neighborhood, we're developing our own chipper program that will hopefully be more enduring with our own chippers. We have the reflective sign and a lot of resources on our website. Next slide. We have 2 different levels of membership. You can be your local neighborhood organization can be a member, and we help with fiscal sponsorship potentially. We help develop, we collect this particular grant that we're talking about today is not only doing work in your neighborhood, but it's an amalgam of a bunch of smaller projects throughout the county that we built into a bigger grant opportunity. Help with your neighborhood councils. We have the ability to track and aggregate match, which we're going to talk about later, which is super important because some of these grant opportunities require matching investment from the community. And you get priority access to chipper days. Next. We also have individual memberships, which you can sign up through our website, and you get priority access to our trainings and workshops. We have a special sort of one-day membership where we can provide insurance for work parties that are helping their neighbors clear out defensible space. We have a newsletter. We are building a program of providing discounts to members for fire preparation things, and you'll hear one important one of those is if you have additional clearing that needs to happen and you need to hire contractors. We're building a list of people who give discounts, including Diamond Tree, who you're going to hear from later today, who's going to be doing the work in your area. So you'll see the work in your neighborhoods, and they're going to be giving a 10% off, as I understand it, to folks that get individual additional work that are members of the County Fire Safe Council. Okay, so now we are on this specific project, Brook Trail Access Corridor, part of the grant. And next slide. Kind of Keith went over this already, but it's got a couple of components. It's actually going to be, I think, close to 3 miles of roadway clearing at this point because we just added some. An additional 15 chipper days to where chunks of the community can gather together and do a whole bunch of work in their area, and we chip and haul that away. And we just added this, so the road clearing for the curious is being considered an essential service at this point. So we're going ahead with it on the schedule you'll see coming up. The chipper days that are involving a lot more people getting out of their houses and collaborating are things that we are not proceeding with until the shelter-in-place orders are lifted. So that's going to happen, but it's we're not exactly sure when at this point. Next slide. So this is an overview of the project work that's going to go on. It's going to start down in the lower in the Birch neighborhood, down it's labeled 1, and then there's a few other areas that were identified as important through corridors that needed work. And let's just flip through the next slide so we can see those close up. So we're going to start with the Birch segment as outlined there in blue. We just added a whole bunch of additional to clear that whole sort of neighborhood segment out so you can see what a kind of model neighborhood looks like with roadside clearing throughout it. And next slide. We're also going to do Poppy to Airport segment, and hopefully that's clear enough for people to see exactly where that is. Poppy Canyon segment, another 0.6 miles. And next, and Primrose to Lake Ada Rose segment, another half-mile segment. So those are the road segments where we're going to be doing clearing. The project schedule is we signed a contract with Diamond Tree to do this work in January. We're just hitting the edge of our community meetings schedule here. So but we've had a lot of meetings with Sherwood Firewise to get ready for this already, and now we're doing larger community presentations. The clearing is going to begin April through May, and you'll see the detailed schedule on that coming up. We plan to hit the road on April 6th. And I'll mention actually a little bit, there's going to be a little bit of work before that. So the roadside clearing work is actually going to begin April 6th. You will see a little bit of work on your roads before that because there's a little preliminary stuff that has to happen. We've got a botanist and myself who are going to go through and just do a close look ahead of the roads and flag anything that that needs to be preserved from a botanist perspective. And then we have some birding experts because we need to comply with the Treaty on Nesting Birds as part of this process as well. So a few days ahead of the roadwork schedule, you're going to see folks with orange reflective jackets walking the road, and flagging anything that we need to flag to make sure that it's not disturbed as part of this process as well. And then chipper days will be coming at the end of the process, and I'll explain those in detail in a bit. Next slide. Why are we doing this? We're doing this so you don't end up on a road that looks like that. We want to make sure our roads are free and clear, both for you to get out and for emergency personnel to get to you. Next slide. And this is sort of that in detail. One of the most important parts of this is that fire trucks are not supposed to go where they can't see a safe way out. So having a clean line on both sides of the roads and a good view line is essential for help getting to you. In addition to helping get in and out, road clearing creates a fuel break, basically. So it creates it greatly enhances the chance that fire is not going to be able to cross the roads to get to your place. Next slide. What is roadside clearing specifically? It is removing brush and limbing things up to about 15 feet off the ground and taking out smaller diameter trees, roughly 6 inches diameter at chest height is the guideline, out to 35 feet from the center line of the road in this particular project. And next slide. Does it leave a moonscape? A lot of people are scared to give permission to do a complete job on their property, as we'll talk about, because they're scared that we're going to leave something that looks desolate and open. That is not what we're trying to do. We are trying to create something that looks like a park that's been maintained for a long time. So it's got things that are spaced out and open. There's not a lot of loose fuel laying around. And you know, what I like to say is it looks like a place where the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts have been going for the last 20 years and boosting each other up the trees. So they've stripped off everything that's easily burnable. So it's clean and open. And we're also trying to leave something that looks beautiful. The place we started recently, this is a quote from a neighbor that had a particularly tangled area on Robinson Creek Road. And we think we've got some really good guidelines that the road crews are working with, so that we're aiming to do a superior job that leaves something that looks good for you. Next slide. Just a couple of quick visuals about what it's supposed to look like before and after. So again, it looks kind of tangled and wild in the before pictures, and the after pictures look clean and open with a lot more visibility down the road. Road clearing is a tricky balance. These folks are doing and have to do a tough job of balancing. The aim is to provide you the safest space possible and take out as much fuel as possible, and fuel ladders, things that can set things above them on fire, and remove smaller trees and limb up bigger ones, again, to make them more fire resilient. Next slide. And again, the guideline is 6 inches in diameter, but with some judgment on the part of the people that are doing the clearing. We try to leave natives. So if it's an oak and it's questionable, the guideline is to limit and leave it. But if it's a conifer, which are much more flammable, and it's in the questionable zone, we urge them to go ahead and take it. Also, for woody plants, we've seen a lot of clearing projects that happen and that look good for the first year but make things worse in the long run. If you go through and cut all of that stuff to the ground, then next year and the year after, you end up with a multi-sprouted bushy thing that is much more flammable. So to the extent possible, we ask our crews to work with woody things, to trim them up, to find a central stem and leave something that's going to grow more tree-like and healthier in the future and be less of a fire hazard down the road. Next slide. So again, it's a balancing act, and the road crews are going to try their best to balance 3 different things. They're going to try to take out as much as possible while preserving the natural environment, while not taking natives that they don't need to take, while not taking too much habitat, and also while respecting your concerns as property owners. So the roadside clearing can go where the funding pays for up to 35 feet from the center line, but to respect your rights as a property owner, unless we have a landowner access agreement, they're going to stop short when they come to a fence or anything that looks like it's obviously maintained landscaping that you've worked to preserve. So we're going to do our best not to make judgment calls, to not take anything that looks like it's important to you or that it's property you've developed. Next slide. If you want us to be able to do the best job possible on your property and make judgment calls and clear to the best of our ability for the whole 35 feet, if you've got fencing or maintain things there and you want them to be able to go in and trim those up as well, we need to have a landowner access agreement in place that gives them permission to go past that fence line or past that shrub, whatever. We ask you to seriously consider giving that permission and to also seriously consider, this is true with my house and I'm going through it right now, if you've got things that are sort of privacy screening from the road, but they're flammable and linked to other things that are creating a fuel ladder that could get to your home, you should consider letting go of them and go ahead and signing the agreement and having a little less privacy in exchange for neighborhood fire safety. I also want to point out there's a lot of places that we've done a bunch of these projects, and so has CAL FIRE. And the experience is that people who don't sign the landowner access agreements after the project tend to come back and say, could you please come back and do my place, which we probably can't do. For a number of reasons. The properties that we don't do can stick out like a sore thumb. Everybody, it will be fairly obvious who didn't participate in making a safer road. And B, again, it doesn't look as bad as you think it's going to look. We make every effort to make it clean and nice looking when we leave it. So what you were worried about, you probably didn't need to worry about. Next slide. Because you signed a landowner access agreement, does that mean you lose all control? It does not. You can still maintain control of specifically what happens on your property, even if you sign a landowner agreement by flagging things. We have some of that basic tape that we need to figure out how to make available, or you can buy it at any hardware store. Just a red or orange tape means stop. So red means stop. If you've got something, you signed your landowner access agreement, but you've got the favorite tree that you put in with your kids and you don't want it, you want to make sure it's not touched, you tie a red or orange ribbon around it. And that tells the crew not to go there. On the other hand, if you've got a line of junipers or something that's highly flammable, that's well maintained and edged, so we're going to look at it and say that's maintained and we're not going to touch it, but you know it's a fire hazard and you want it to go, you can flag it with green, which means go. And that will tell the crew that they should go ahead and take that out. Next slide. So this is a major project. It's funded with grant money. It isn't an annual event. Folks aren't going to come and clear your property for you every year. So once this happens, then we hand over the maintenance to you to keep it cleaner and going. And the next slide. To help with that, and to help you make your home more fire defensible overall, and that's just what we've got is the picture of the basic defensible space requirement, which shows that you should have, if possible, nothing flammable within the first 5 feet of your house. The next 25 feet should be lean, clean, and clear. And then after that, you should space things out so that they are not likely to catch each other on fire, and so that there's nice sort of clear space, kind of like we're aiming along the roadside. You want to create that around your house, and you want to maintain the clearing along your roadside. And next slide. To do that, we are, as part of this project, heading into the fall, offering some free chipper days, where if you organize with your neighbors, you can do a lot of that clearing work and help each other do it. And then we will come through, and specifically Diamond Tree will come through and with a chipper and chip and haul all that away for you, which is a fairly expensive process usually if you're doing it on your own. So this is kind of a big boost in getting a bunch of that done at once. Next slide. Chipper days are a whole separate process that we're not going to go into a bunch at this point, but the keys are that you're going to have someone from Sherwood Firewise that's going to help you organize those. You're going to have captains in the area that are going to supervise the brush piles for it to happen quickly and efficiently and safely. They need to be organized in a certain way. They need to be not on the road, but near the road. They need to be piled properly with the cut ends facing the same way, so it's easy for the chipper crew to get in there. Next slide. The professional crews, and it's got to be stuff 6 inches in diameter or less that they will run through. To be a participant in a chipper day, we also need to have that landowner access agreement signed, because the crews won't be able to step on your property to pull the piles out without it. And there is an option here in the little asterisks. If you want to keep your chips, that's something you're going to need to communicate in advance. If you want chips for mulching or other purposes, that's part of the process is you can do that, but the default is that we're going to haul things away. Next slide. And there's a bunch of other details that we'll get into more. And one that's not mentioned on here is we want to make sure the chipper piles don't have invasive species and Scotch broom and things. So that's important if we're going to be able to leave chips. If we find things that we don't want to be spread in the chipper piles, that will stop us from being able to offer chips. And there's a whole bunch of other guidelines, and I'm not going to spend time going through those in detail. Diamond Tree may later, but that's knowledge that you will need to sort of review when you get closer to a chipper day, because there's a lot of requirements for making sure that the chipping process is safe and effective. Next slide. What you can do to help with this whole process, again, landowner access agreements are key to us being able to do the best possible project. You can work with Sherwood Firewise to make sure to start organizing for chipper days in your neighborhood and become possibly a volunteer, one of the volunteers that helps train and inspect those piles. We'll talk about this a little more in a second, but what you can do that's critical to this is tracking all of the expenses and labor that you put into that process or any of this process. And that is critical because a lot of the grants around here, there's sort of two reasons for it. One, a lot of grants become available, like this grant, require a dollar for dollar match process from the community, and volunteer labor can count to that. So Aaron, our project manager, a large part of his work is making sure that we document and collect enough community effort so that we can meet our pledge to match the dollars that are paying for this project. And secondly, we also then collect those countywide as the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council and are sort of building a database of how much effort people in Mendocino are putting in on their own behalf to make this happen. And the larger that is, the more we can show we're doing for ourselves, the better able we are to attract more grant dollars. You can spread the words to your friends and neighbors and try to coax them into getting their landowner access agreements in. And hopefully you will all also become members of Sherwood Firewise and the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council. Next. And that is the tracking form. And I think we have those on our website. If we don't, we will soon. Keith will have access to those for you. And again, we just hope you do, a basic log of what work you're doing in this process. And Keith or Aaron, do you want to jump in on anything there on how this works with the tracking?
I can jump in just a little bit. This is Aaron Martin speaking. And yeah, I've been the project coordinator with this, and thanks everybody for tuning in. This is a fairly new experience for all of us with the shelter order and participating in this online forum. So if you're able to see the slides, great. If not, it's a pretty basic form that has your name on it, and you sign in with your signature and give a brief description of what you did. But literally, when we're tracking your participation, it makes a huge difference on up the chain that ultimately results in the funding of these projects. And so even if you keep a journal for yourself of the time you spend clearing brush around your home or attending any community participation meetings, if your signature wasn't collected at that meeting, any of that kind of thing, it's a big deal. And thank you very much for doing it. And you can literally do that on your own with a sheet of notebook paper, so long as it has your name, date, and your signature to it and a description of what's going on. I will be able to work with that and collect that from you one way or another. Having said that, like today, I'm capturing screenshots of this event that we're doing together, hoping that that's going to help us document all of our participation in this. So again, it's a really big deal towards paying for our contractor, Diamond Tree, to actually come and do the work on the ground. So any amount of time you put in gets quantified for this specific project at $29 an hour, dollar for dollar match. So that adds up pretty quick. So again, thanks all of you for participating and learning this material. And I'm gonna, of course, stay on the line and be happy to answer questions once Scott's presentation has concluded.
Cool. And next slide. I think at this point we're ready to hand it over to Diamond Tree to talk about the specific schedule. And so thanks everybody for your time.
All right, good morning. It's Ashley with Diamond Tree Service. I will be going over our schedule. This is an estimated schedule of work days, so it will slightly change on weather or unforeseen conditions, but just to give you a rough idea. So April 8th and 9th, we plan on starting on Birch Street and going down Birch Street, and then April 10th through the 13th, we plan on being on Birch Drive. April 14th and 15th, we'll be starting on Birch Road. April 16th and 17th, we'll be on Birch Terrace and Birch Court. April 20th through the 22nd, we will be on Birch Place, Birch Circle, and Birch Lane. And that will conclude the Birch neighborhood. If you could go to the next slide. And for this one, April 23rd through the 28th, we'll do the Poppy Drive through Airport segment, and that includes 1 and 2. And then April 29th through the 30th will be the Poppy Canopy segment. And then May 1st through the 4th, we will be starting on the Primrose Drive through the Clover segment, and that will also be 1 and 2. And again, this is just an estimated schedule of the workdays, so it might vary slightly, but we will let you know if there's any extreme changes to this schedule. If you could go to the next slide. So this is kind of just a map of our schedule, just so you can have a better idea. It's all color coordinated. Like I said, April 8th is going to be in red. April 10th through 13th is orange. And then April 14th, 15th is a lighter colored orange. April 16th and 17th is going to be purple. April 20th through the 22nd is green. April 23rd through the 28th is a darker shade of green. April 29th through the 30th is blue or teal. And then May 1st through the 4th is going to be blue. And then it tells you as well, what LLA forms we do have in there, just so that people are aware. As you can see, there are quite a few homes in the Birch subdivision that we do have LLA forms for. So, if you guys can just kind of look through that and maybe talk to your neighbors and get together and fill out those forms, because that will better help us in clearing as much as we can. And if you can go to the next slide. So this is just going to go over the Poppy Drive to the airport segment and give you a better idea of where we're going to be doing the road clearing on that portion. And then next slide. Again, this is another Poppy canopy segment, and it'll just give you a better idea of where we will be on those days. Next slide. And then this is going to be the Primrose Drive. And again, it just gives you a better idea of where we will be on that day. And so you can see that. Next drive. And so this kind of just goes over any questions and contacts for our executive director, that's Scott Cratty, who was speaking just before me. And then my contact information. My name's Ashley Vega. Again, my sub is Rachel Campbell. She is with his design, and she does all of our mapping. And then she'll also be out on the job with us with a fire truck, just to make sure that, you know, if anything were to happen, she's right there, you know, following us along on the road and equipped with what we need to stay safe. And then the Sherwood Firewise, Keith Rutledge, and you know, his contact information. If you guys were to have any questions for us, you can best reach us at that.
That's it.
That's it. Aaron, did you want to, just to get it on the record for people that have work records and things, what the contact info for them to get those to you are, or to talk to you about it if they want to?
Sure. So, kind of a question I have too is there's a number of people here participating via the phone, so I wonder if they've even been able to see the slideshow. I'm going to be nice and slow and assume that there's a number of people that haven't. So to be clear, the Sherwood Firewise Council, and Keith will be able to speak to this, is keeping all of this slideshow and the various documents you hear about in the maps and so forth on a shared drive as part of the Sherwood Firewise group that you have access to over the internet to just double check things. So my name's Aaron Martin. I actually live out in Boonville, and I've already been working 1 year with a similar project out here in the Anderson Valley area, tracking participation in these different projects. And sorry, I lost a bit of my train of thought there, everybody. So I'm just really excited that you're all participating, and the documents that you can download for yourself are already available on that shared drive the Sherwood Firewise group has. I'll work with Scott to get those available for download on the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council website. And then as far as contacting me directly, I'm going to say my phone number nice and slow. It's 707-684-9217. That's 707-684-9217. And as an aside, my name's also Cobb. So I've learned some people outside of Anderson Valley. A lot of people know me as Cobb, but that's a name I go by on KZYX. I do some radio work there, if I sound familiar. Also, you can email me. That's probably the best way to reach out to me, and I can get various documents to you or answer questions. That's going to be Aaron, Aaron, Martin, Martin, at carcd.org. Again, that's Aaron-Martin at carcd.org. And any questions or concerns you have that work well. And again, when you're documenting your participation, if you don't have any of these special documents, literally your name, your signature, the date of the work you did, the hours you put into it, and a description of what you did around your home is usually acceptable by the California Fire Safe Council, who's the granting agency in this project. Beyond that, we are going to be out there sometime next week taking before and after, well, before photos and eventually after photos as part of the documentation process. And I feel like there's one more thing regarding documentation I want to mention, but again, it's slipping from my mind at the moment. But I'm happy to answer any questions I can. Oh yeah, a lot of this stuff, you can print it, you can sign it and scan it and upload it. If you're savvy enough, you can use like the Microsoft Word version and just put down a digital squiggle as your signature. And you can do the whole documentation process online and email that to me, and that should also work. And this project goes for the next 2 years. It started in November, and we're able to back report. So anything that you've done in the last couple months as far as brush clearing work goes, if you've been documenting it, great. And if you don't get it to me right on time in the future, the near future, we have time to link up and get that from you. The important thing is that you're just paying attention and documenting. So thanks.
All right, thanks, Aaron. This is Keith again. We do have some questions that came in on our info@sherwoodfirewise.org. So if you have a question, if you wouldn't mind sending it in to info@sherwoodfirewise.org. You could also, if you're only available by phone, you could call in to 459-1256. But if you're already on the phone, what we might try to do is unmute some mics here too, since we don't have that many people. But what I thought I'd do is I'll start with the questions we already have, because it might answer some of your questions that you have, and then we can see if we can go further and unmute some mics and have people talk, see how that works. Okay, so one of the questions that came in is, what's the maximum size of the wood that can be chipped? And we saw in there that 6 inches in diameter is really, that's what we're trying to do, is keep everything 6 inches and less in diameter. I think technically speaking, the chipper might take something a little bit larger than that, but that's our spec, is we're not going to take anything over 6 inches if we can help it. Another question was, will everything be hauled away? And again, our plan is to basically take everything to the curb, chip it up, and haul it away, so we don't leave a lot of material there. We did talk about if somebody wants to keep a pile of chips, that you can, but you need to specify that ahead of time. And if you do specify, there's some concerns about what is in that pile, because there's some like non-native vegetation we don't want to spread around, like Scotch broom and such, for example. So there's some things about that. So if you want a pile of chips, we can do it, but really what we want to do is just get the material out of here. A couple of different questions came in about, is there any money to pay to hire professionals to come on to people's property to do work? And unfortunately, we don't have funding in the program. In this program, as Scott and Aaron were saying, the idea behind some of these grants is they want the community to participate and put in some matching funds. So Sherwood Firewise is gathering volunteers to do some work. We're also trying to raise a little bit of our own donation money to pay a couple of professionals to help that could get out on the site and do some vegetation cutting, and then other volunteers can haul the stuff to the curb. If an individual property owner certainly wants to do their own work, that's nothing wrong with that. And if you or pay somebody, and as Aaron and Scott were saying, we can document your time as matching contribution, as well as any money that you spend doing any of this work. All that counts towards our grant funds, which is in excess of $75,000 now. So we're wanting to match that grant. We need to match the grant. Some questions about large rotting logs or stumps. Basically, again, anything over 6 inches, we don't really want to deal with. And if something's rotting or laying down on the ground, it's probably not a big fire danger anyway. But again, if we can get stuff to the curb that is less than 6 inches in diameter, or if you have a landowner access agreement where we can get our volunteers to come on, we may be able to help with a downed tree. I know that there's some people that have a downed tree that's a danger, or maybe a leaning tree that's a danger. So again, on a specific basis, we can try to deal with that. And again, if you email into info@sherwoodfirewise.org of your location and what your situation is, we can help you come out and take a look. We've talked about how you sign up for this again, let us know your address on info@sherwoodfirewise.org. We have the landowner access agreement on our website at sherwoodfirewise.org. If you email into info and just say, would you send me that agreement, we can do that too. But that's the start for really getting moving forward. And what we did in the Birch neighborhood was we really focused on that as a demonstration project. So Brian Weller in particular in that neighborhood has been really helpful in getting a lot of neighbors to contribute. Brooktrails also, we didn't mention that yet. Brooktrails owns quite a few parcels in the subdivision, and they are also going to help us with this project too. So there are some greenbelt parcels that are of concern, and then there's some other just vacant lots that Brooktrails owns, and those can all be dealt with. Brooktrails has agreed to work with us on that. So if you have a vacant lot that you're concerned about, please let us know. As far as people recommending to work, Brooktrails has maintained a list of local contractors that do work like this. So the Brooktrails office would be one place. And again, sherwoodfirewise.org, we will have a link to that list on our site of local contractors. And it's sort of moving target. There's people coming and going. Everybody's very busy, but we are trying to find a couple of people that we as Sherwood Firewise can pay to help individual members with things like a problem tree or some other special situation like that. But for the most part, this is all volunteers removing small materials with manual labor, moving things down the hill. So that's what we're working on that. Anybody that contacts us, we will be letting you know back as far as the schedule. We've seen here the roadside fuel reduction work. We'll be actually canvassing the neighborhood to go through and make sure that if you want to flag something, that all that stuff is done before the roadside crew shows up. We'll also have a Sherwood Firewise coordinator on site whenever we're doing work. So we don't want individuals bothering the crew. So we want to maintain our physical distance. Plus, we don't want to interrupt their work. We should have a Sherwood Firewise person out with the crew. So if there's any questions or concerns, you've got somebody to talk to at that point. But if you have anything ahead of time, let us know, and we'll stay in touch that way. I see a question about there's a big hedge next to the road. Looks like ladder fuel, and it looks like it's Photinia. Anybody on the Diamond Tree or Scott, anybody understand Photinia hedge?
Sorry, Ashley with Diamond Tree Service. That wasn't one of the listed invasive species that was on the paperwork. If I remember correctly, that is just one that grows. You cut it down, it'll grow back like a bush continuously.
Okay, so the question is, should it be removed? And if so, what do we do with it? So is that something would be trimmed or just needs to be removed?
I would say completely remove it because, like I said, it'll grow back like a bush every single year. It's not something you just cut it down to the ground and it stays like a little stump. It'll continue to grow. Okay.
All right. So I'm sorry, I don't know who asked that question. So if you could give us your address for the person that asked that question about the 6-foot Photinia hedge, we'll make sure to come and take a look at it and talk with you more about that. I wanted to see if maybe John Haschak is on the line. John, do you have anything from the county's perspective, since you're dealing with some of these other projects? I'd like to ask you to speak a little bit. And if you press *6 is the way to unmute your microphone.
Hi, Keith. Yeah, I'm still on the line.
Thanks.
I'm just on the audio version, so I wasn't able to see the slideshow, but I really appreciate all you're doing on this. Like you said, we're working on, getting agreements with the Primrose to KOA, so we can do that work too and create, safe exit going south. I think the Sherwood Firewise community is just doing incredible work. The grants we got, is just going to do an incredible amount, make an incredible difference in the safety for the community, especially the one going on the Sherwood Road. And then this work you're doing with the chipper days, it's just going to make all of us a lot safer. So, just let it be known that I'm always available, and whatever I can do for all of you is, my phone number is 707-972-4214, or you can contact me at Haschak, Haschak, J at MendocinoCounty.org. So either way, just feel free to get in touch with me if I can do anything to help with this process. So
thanks,
thank
John.
you all.
Yeah, and John has been a tremendous help, continues to be a really great resource, so we're very fortunate to have the supervisor. Well, what I'd like to try for anybody else that might want to ask a question, if you're on the phone or your computer, you can unmute your microphone if you want to ask a question, and we can try that just for grins if anybody else has a question, or like I say, you can info@sherwoodfirewise.org. We've gotten quite a few questions coming in that way too. So does anybody want to ask a question? If so, you can unmute your microphone. If you're on the phone, you press *6, and that will unmute your mic on the telephone. Oh, come on, somebody give us a question. Ann, are you still there? Ann McGlinty? Okay. Well, I was hoping for some more questions.
Well, I tell you what, I have a question.
Okay, hang on a second. Go ahead. Hey, Ann. I just wanted to, did you have any questions?
This is Doreen that actually just unmuted.
Okay, go for it, Doreen.
Okay, thanks. I just wondered for the roadside clearing that's happening the first part of April and through April, is there any guidance that Diamond can give to the homeowners as far as moving their cars and trucks that may be parked curbside? That would be helpful to know at this time. And I will unmute now.
So this is Ashley, Diamond Tree Service again. So our crew was just planning on working around the vehicles that are parked. I did drive up with my foreman, and so we were able to look at all of, the road, and he didn't see anything that would prevent from continuing to work. And so as of right now, we're just going to be working around them.
Yeah, I think part of what Sherwood Firewise is going to do, we're putting up some signs to let people know that the roadside work is going to be happening in their neighborhood. And because we expect that, a lot of people are just going to hear stuff going on and walk out their door. And even though we've done all kinds of notices, there will still be people that aren't sure what's happening. So we'll check with it then. But, if there's pets running around or children, whatever, again, we need the physical distancing aspects. If you have any other stuff just along the road, tools, equipment, materials, toys, whatever, anything we can do to just make it really easy for the crew to get in and do their work, that's going to be much appreciated. All right, anybody else?
Hi,
Keith?
Marshall.
Keith?
Hey,
Are you there, Keith?
I'm here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if when Blue Lake Road is going to be on the schedule, if you have that figured out, and when botanical and bird surveys might be done.
Okay, so that's Joel from Spring Creek, and Joel, what we're talking about there, that's the CAL FIRE program. So that's not this Mendocino County Fire Safe Council program. This is for Brooktrails only. The CAL FIRE program, it will have a registered professional forester and a botanist, as Scott was talking about earlier. And so what I think we need to do is meet along Blue Lake Road and Timber Road and take a look with the forester. I'd be glad to meet with anybody in the meantime to just give you my opinion about what I've seen so far. But what I'd really like to do is have the Road Association in particular meet with the CAL FIRE and whoever the forester is, so you get it straight from them. And I think what Scott was saying earlier, I don't know if you were on the line the whole time, that no matter what, whether we sign the access agreement or not, property owners have the right to mark things and say, I don't want you to take anything, or don't take this or that. So it's not a mandatory kind of removal like the PG&E program. They were under emergency orders to have to do what they did, whether you liked it or not, really. So this is completely different, very much sensitive to individual owner concerns. And also, since it's a CAL FIRE project, we definitely have CEQA related issues, and we'll be working with the Road Association to make sure that's addressed. Scott did mention about for the Brooktrails projects, we have similar concerns. So he's going to be out here next week before the roadside work begins with the botanist and also somebody, I think, from Audubon Society or somebody related to birds to look for things like native species and non-native species and see if there's any bird nesting going on, things like that. So we definitely will keep up with that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Keith, this is John Haschak.
Yes, go ahead. Yep, John.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that since we are in this shelter in place and the work that you're doing is considered essential work, so I just wanted to remind people that they need to keep, physical distance from the workers and the people who are coming by, and just make sure that we maintain that social distancing throughout this process. But it is essential work, so that's why we're able to proceed with it.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, it is something that and Scott at the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council, I don't know if you want to say more about it. There's lots of projects going on in the county. Fire season is going to come regardless of what the virus does. So what we're trying to do, just like this meeting today, we had planned on having an in-person meeting and we just couldn't do that. So we're trying to find alternative means, and we were hoping for 100 people, and we're just not able to get that on this particular meeting. But it's important that we continue with the fire related work to prepare for this coming fire season. And as John says, we can do that kind of essential work without and maintain that physical distancing, so we're doing things safely. But I think we're still all in the shelter in place kind of mode where we're not going to see large activities going on for a while. So this will impact our overall project schedule, but there's still work that we can get done. Certainly you can go work on your own property and take materials down, and do your own clearing. And if whatever's at the curbside, when they do the roadside reduction, they could pick some of that up. So, I mean, it may be that in the Birch neighborhood, if you can get some materials that you want shipped up out to the curbside, they could pick that up at the same time. But again, we want to keep that physical distancing and also not interact with the crews while they're out there because they have work to do. But we should have a Sherwood Firewise contact person on site the whole time if you do have questions. All right, anyone else? And there's also a chat function too. We've gotten a couple of things going on the chat. If anybody's interested in typing something, then I'm curious about, I imagine there's quite a few people that weren't able to get on this call for some reason or another. I know Supervisor Haschak mentioned having a little bit of a hassle logging on. Can somebody, while we're here, give me an idea on how to make this better for the next time? Is there what the issues were?
Well, Keith, I tried to plug in the app, and it just wasn't letting me do it. So I just had to do it by the phone call. So there was a problem there for me, at least. And I tried my laptop and my iPad, and couldn't do it either way. So anyway.
Yeah, and we're learning too. It may be a function of the Google platform that, because I know I've had a couple of other people mention if you're not logged in with some kind of Google related passwords or account, it may be that there's a problem, although I do see people that aren't Google accounts that did log on, so I'm not sure, but we'll do some research on that. And there are other platforms. There's one called Zoom that people are using that is pretty robust. They charge for that service though, so this is free. That's why we're doing this, because we don't have money to pay for it. But we
Can I speak to that a bit, Keith? This is Aaron Martin with the Fire Safe Council.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I just want to just again express my thanks for everyone's participation in this today, and recognize that what we're doing here is a very new process. Not just this online meeting, which is very new, but even all of our participation in these Fire Safe Council projects is very new. From the State Fire Safe Council, what I've heard is they're excited to see our participation in this and how we document it, because they have to follow up. The whole state and beyond is under this shelter in place precaution, and so a lot of people are figuring this out, and so there are some people in beyond places watching what we do, trying to learn how we cope with these different challenges. So it's a pretty interesting thing to be participating in. And I'm not sure how that'll shake out. So some of you may hear from me later trying to follow up with your experience in regards to today. And I just want to take another moment to promote what will hopefully be in-person events in the future. But this project isn't just brush clearing. It's also, there's an educational component. And in Anderson Valley, as part of the education, we were able to put on some great educational events that had a lot of participation, and it was very informative. So as you have questions just about some of the terms, even, what does it mean to be fire-wise or fire-safe, or you're wondering, as you look at the landscape changes, what really constitutes, a fire-safe landscape and that kind of thing. The presentations and events that we put on will cover all that. In Anderson Valley, we covered, basic fire behavior, fire weather. We had guests from the California universities come out that talked about home hardening. We had our local forester talking about how the fire landscape and ecology works. So it was really a good primer, how do I say that? Anyways, for all of this knowledge about being, a community that lives in a fire environment and how we live with that, ongoing, sustainably, how we get together as neighbors to effectively plan for events that, in a lot of cases, the first thing that goes out the window is the plan. So as you pay attention to the Sherwood Firewise group, the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council, keep an eye out for that. Hopefully we do a good job promoting it, but certainly your active participation in requesting that and looking for it is helpful. And we hope to be bringing that to you as part of this project over the course of the next few years.
Thanks, Aaron.
Hey, Keith. This
Yep.
is Eric Hart from the Williams Ranch Road Fire Safe Council. We had a couple folks join you today to see how you guys were doing things as we're kind of heading into a similar project. But I did want to volunteer. I've got a Zoom account that you guys can use next time around if you're looking for something like that.
Oh, great. Yeah, send us an email on that. I really appreciate it, Eric.
Will do.
Good. Well, I don't know if anybody else wants to cover anything. We don't have to stay on until 12. Plus, we don't have the hot potato bar afterwards, which I was looking forward to, but we'll have to wait until after the social distancing is over. Here's some feedback. Anybody else want to ask a question, make a comment? Again, if you're on the phone, you can press *6 and that'll unmute your microphone.
Hey, Keith.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Brian Welly here for Sherwood Firewise. Just want to give a shout out to all the folks in the Birch neighborhood who've joined this webinar. Just thank them for really participating, and those of you that are on the line, either and have seen the presentation or just using the phone in. Do speak to your neighbors in the Birch neighborhood that may not have signed the landowner access agreements. Everyone should have received the mail out that we put out, and I think there's stamped address envelopes there just to send in the local landowner access agreements. Very, very important, because this is a real community effort and we just need as many people involved as possible. So just want to put that shout out to everybody and thank everyone that's already participating.
Excellent. Thanks for that. And again, that landowner access agreement is on the sherwoodfirewise.org website, so you can link to it and download that form. And that is an important thing to get in. You know, I mentioned earlier, one of the things Chief Neuer has sent abatement notices out for years to especially vacant parcels that aren't being maintained, and he rarely gets any kind of reply. We've gotten a very strong reply from the vacant lot owners in the Birch neighborhood. So the fact that we're able to offer them to come onto their property and do some clearing and not have to send them a bill for it is something that has stimulated quite a bit of response, because early on we figured out that quite a few homeowners are taking care of their property fine in the Brooktrails subdivision. It's the vacant lot next to them or behind them that is the problem. And those absentee owners a lot of times don't respond, and they haven't been cleaning their lots. So this is an experiment for us. And so far, the chief was really impressed at how many access agreements we had gotten back for those vacant lots. So we'll be able to do a pretty significant project in the Birch area. I mean, we've got, I think, 55 parcels now signed up. And so, like Brian was saying, the neighbor should go next door to your neighbor and say, hey, I'm doing it, why don't you? I suspect some people haven't sent in that landowner access agreement because they're thinking their own property is cleared, and so they don't really need anything. But what happens if we work on the lot next to your property? If we don't have a landowner access agreement for you, we have to be concerned about where the property line is, and that gets into things like surveying and whatever. So if we have everybody sign landowner access agreements for adjacent parcels, we can work around the whole area without being concerned about which property we're on. So that's another important ask for people to please get those agreements in. Okay, anybody else? Comments? Suggestions? Questions? I just want to say personally that I'm really happy that this turned out. I think we could get better participation, but I think the platform with Google is keeping some people from logging on to be able to see the slideshow. So thank you, Eric, for offering the Zoom platform, because I think we won't have that issue with that. So do better next time. Okay, Scott?
Hi.
Go ahead, sorry.
Keith, this is Doreen again. And I just wanted to thank everyone for participating today. It's been very informative, and I really appreciate all the energy that's going into these projects and all the efforts people are putting in. So thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, Keith, this is John Haschak. And I just want to ditto that comment that you're doing incredible work, and keep it up, and hope everything goes great with this. So thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, we've got a great team, and it's going to be really exciting to see again, we've picked the Birch neighborhood as being a major entry point to the subdivision. If there's a big fire, a big emergency, that intersection is going to be really jammed, and that whole neighborhood is sort of right at the entrance to the subdivision. So it'll be a great demonstration project for others in the community to see what it looks like when we all work together like this. And as Scott was saying, Scott and Aaron, there will be other funding available potentially in the future, but it really is dependent upon us as a community being able to offer those matching contributions, whether it's labor or expenses. So that helps leverage the funds. That's why we get these kinds of grants, because we have volunteers that will do this work and will match these funds. So everything you're doing, you're getting paid almost $30 an hour for your time as far as matching funds go. And any money that you spend on paying somebody or doing anything can also be counted towards that matching fund. And again, we've got forms that are available, or you can just let us know what you're doing, and we'll make sure you get the forms so we can document what you're doing to help with that. Scott, I want to ask you if you got any closing remarks on this one.
No, I think it's been covered super well. I want to thank everybody for plowing through with us on this novel approach, and just echo that what an awesome job Sherwood Firewise is doing and bringing all this together there. I think it was one of the more dangerous areas in the community, and y'all are stepping up and making it happen to get it as safe as possible, which is going to be huge in the future. So much appreciation.
Okay. Go ahead. Anybody else?
Hi, this is Reeve from the Willits Ranch Road Fire Safe Council. And I just want to echo, more of an echo, of how wonderful it's been for us to to learn from what you're doing. You're very inspiring. And we've been following you closely and are adopting and adapting a lot of what you do to our own Fire Safe Council. So you're a leader in the county for this and maybe more, but thanks so much.
Thank you, Reed. Yeah, we're looking forward to working together because it really is the whole county, the Fire Safe Council meetings. That again, we're probably not going to have those meetings as regularly right away, but every month there's a Fire Safe Council meeting in Ukiah of all of the various county Fire Safe Councils that get together. 1 month is for the technical kind of professionals, so CAL FIRE and all the agency folks meet, and we can be there as community members. And then the other alternating month is the Fire Safe Council, so we can talk about community activity. And as Ree was saying, that this is so important to for people to try things, and what works we can spread to others. One thing Scott mentioned early on about the Fire Safe Council is a chipper is something that we've all been needing, and they're looking at being able to get a community chipper so we could have a chipper be available for our Fire Safe Councils to use on our own periodically. So I mean, there's things we can do as a group. The grant funds won't be around forever, so it really is important that we push hard right now. We can see other disasters happen and they can take away those funds. The governor said recently that a lot of agencies can't count on funding this year because of the COVID situation. However, he did stress that fire prevention is still a high priority, so we don't expect to lose funding for the fire prevention activities, but that doesn't mean that's going to be like that forever. So we're trying to get as much work done as we can while that grant money is available, and then beyond that, we'll have a pretty good idea what we need to do to keep going, but we may not have as much subsidy money at that point. So we're really thankful for everybody kicking in early on like this so we can get a lot of work done. Okay, well, hearing no other objections, I think I'm going to call it to an end. It was great. This looks like about an hour and a half approximately, so we did good. And again, thanks to everybody for joining in. Please send us your questions to info@sherwoodfirewise.org, and we'll be letting you know about future meetings, but we'll probably be doing the online versions of this for a while. So again, thank you for participating.